They took out Stasio, seeing some VAP as well because they have that rocket launcher. Past that too, though, on the low ground, we see Crusty Blackstar rotating. Flick still getting some picks on the Mosh. 16 trios alive now in the 6th circle. We'll see how things roll. Astro last time came down in 15th place in game number 1 with just 13 elims. That was way later in the game too. But Tails gets a few picks. Thomas again converting onto Jachu and Karma, getting even more. Airwalks finally goes down, so they got to live all the way to this point, but Mateos picks them up. Another trio that needs to get in top 10 today. That baton kind of gets passed, and now Astro is working so well to stay ahead from zone. These guys are essentially playing on their own Fortnite map from what it looks like. They're in their own dimension right now, building their... Oh, this is the biggest tarp I've seen.
I know, it has gone from a god tarp to a titan tarp. Bigger than the gods themselves. And they're holding on as much as possible. They only have one RPG though, so it may not be a victory royale just so easily. But now you're seeing the chaos that's happening down below as Zest and Scout are actually in this fight. And you mentioned Airwalks, who was able to at least sneak into one placement point, but Taste and Eyedrop and Savage getting someone else. Expert going down into the fray. Now you're hearing the shattering of bullets colliding against builds here out in the distance. So many beams, and now the nice rotation here on the right side, getting into the front as much as possible, but now they're making a great rotation, and now they kind of separated for just a bit, but now you're seeing this. No, actually, yeah, they're right behind. What a great tarp right there from Tayson, and you're seeing the mechanical prowess. No missed edits, but the pressure from a hot has to be acknowledged in here, and they keep moving forward. So let's keep it on right now here, so as they get another knock, and Kepi now is running for his life in another elimination.
Hunting down over and over again, looking for any morsel, but Thomas oversteps and gets taken down. Now, once again, a dual clutch has to be made, but it's Flick who's going to be up this time. No, it's Solo. So 4 elims, 50 builds, and the best loadout you could possibly ask for in the end game. Let's see what he can do. Has to drop down with pressure and break in. It's a game of seconds here on these pickaxes into a full trio as well. It's not possible. Shakos takes him down. Have a good foundation. Grace still alive in the low ground.
Mr. Savage going for height.
Peek off Blaster and Alpha.
But chat reader always have to give it.
You already up, y'all.
Chat Misha פה. עשו לייק וסאב.
Dúvidas. Agora queria chamar Keno e Rainy. Vou ficando por aqui. Beijo.
רגע, בוא נכתוב אבן CS.
Well, is he forced you guys to double?
Así que aprovecharlo.
Shakos and Astro, low versus high, and Astro has so much HP that it's going to most likely be an Astro victory royale. He has some, yes, wow. That's it. The splashes, and what an unbelievable hold at height from that trio, and walking away with the victory royale. It wasn't ADN's trio. They almost had a free pass, but Tayson's trio showed up at the last minute and made things so much more interesting there, Shio.
Yeah, at first I thought Astro was kind of the insurance department of that trio, but he showed me at the end there that he's the high ground CEO, stopping multiple pushes and clutching out till the end. I mean, Zeke, Reese, Levin, I gotta know what you think about that game.
Boys, this is a very different game than what we just saw in game number 1. Astro, Hardfind, ADN. I mean, these guys took height so early. We're talking right before moving. They had mats. I mean, Shy Wager called out. They were playing their own Fortnite game. They were using so many materials, a massive tarp. They had the RPG that Astro also saved, which is crazy because the caster was like, hey, this guy's got one RPG. And the moment anyone tried to take high ground from them, that is when Astro used it, just turned the entire tide of battle. And that is ultimately what gets them the victory royale.
Yeah, and it's been a different game, but there were a lot of similarities in this as well. This time they went into that kind of fifth zone, taking that high ground, coming a little bit earlier before the zone started moving. And because they'd actually picked up that elimination earlier on Stasio's team, they had that RPG, kept it all the way through high ground. And because they also managed to pick up so many eliminations, consistently keeping them fueled up on materials, moving all the way through, and Astro playing that great IGL role, keeping that rocket launcher for the very end as well. You saw him make an absolutely critical use of it. The last rocket onto that high ground to knock out the height that was Shakos, I think, on high ground above him. Beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah, I think all around, right, it just shows exactly what you expect out of these guys, right? Astro is sort of that veteran. He's been around since the earliest days of competitive, back when I used to be a player, right? So it's ancient days.
A long time ago.
Yeah, so I think seeing him being able to maintain, have that composure, right? Because we saw ADN go down, we saw, Hardfine eventually go down, but Astro understanding, we need to win this game. We put ourselves in a great position to win this game. I'm not going to go down at any cost. And so just great stuff all around. I said at the top of the show, right, they had a tough time last week landing Pleasant. This week they're landing at their home of Slurpee, and it's paying dividends, clearly.
Yeah, and I almost want to say, like, in this game that you can kind of feel there's like this tension in the air, right? We're kind of following all these high profile trios, and on one end you have
Śnieżek. Ponownie. Co baba.
Towards the end of the game there, as the leaders do show up on our screens, we saw a last-ditch attempt to try and take high ground there from iDrop, Tayson, and Savage. I'm actually quite interested because I rate those guys highly. I think they're really good in terms of their endgame fundamentals. I think if they had realized, wait a minute, there's only about 4 or 5 teams. Instead of just trying to make this last-ditch play, let's stay alive just that bit longer to secure the extra placement points that come with getting top 3 right. They end up going down in 4th place, which is still amazing, but the points that they could have gotten would have been just